Iran and Israel have fired missiles at each other for the first time since the truce in April. Here are the latest developments as tensions rise in West Asia. Iran's armed forces have announced an end to operation against Israel. However, the IRGC warned that it will respond more forcefully to any further aggression. The spokesperson for the IRGC's Khatam al-Anbiya Central Command says that they will respond in the event of continued aggression and active hostility, including in southern Lebanon. Iran fired missiles at Israel after Israeli forces bombed the southern suburbs of Lebanon's capital, Beirut. Israel retaliated, leading to both sides conducting tit-for-tat attacks. U.S. President Donald Trump put out a social media post saying that both Iran and Israel were looking for an immediate ceasefire. He added that final negotiations for a deal to end the war were still proceeding, but warned that ignorance or stupidity might get in the deal's way. Trump also said that the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports would continue until a final deal is reached. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghai also issued a warning. He said that the resumption of hostilities in West Asia will impact the negotiations between Tehran and Washington to end the war. However, Baghai added that Iran was continuing to exchange messages with the U.S. via mediator Pakistan. Iran has canceled all flights from the Mehrabad International Airport in the capital Tehran until further notice. This follows a massive blast being heard in Tehran. The Israeli military said it had struck and dismantled Iranian defense systems deployed across several areas in the country. Iran confirmed that a hostile drone was downed over Tehran. The Yemen-based Houthi rebels have declared a total ban on Israeli ships in the Red Sea. The Houthis also fired missiles at Israel alongside the Iranians. The Houthis said that they targeted sensitive sites in the Tel Aviv region and that their strikes had achieved their objectives. Joining us live on the broadcast is Nader Hashemi, Associate Professor at Georgetown University and a West Asia expert. Professor, welcome back to WION, and thank you for joining us. The question many are asking is, will diplomacy survive this particular escalation?
I think it will, because both sides have an incentive to keep diplomacy going. From Donald Trump's perspective, this has been a disastrous war for him. It's very unpopular in the United States. The American economy is hurting. Elections for Congress are a few months away, so he wants to get out of this war. And so he has every interest in pursuing diplomacy. From Iran's perspective, the future of the Islamic Republic, its viability and survivability, is dependent on sanctions relief and getting out of this economic catastrophe that Iran was facing before the war and has gotten much worse as a result of the war, and critically, since the United States put a blockade on Iranian ports. So I think for those reasons, both sides have a deep incentive to pursue diplomacy, to try to get to a final agreement. But of course, Israel is an outlying factor here that I think has every reason to try and disrupt diplomacy, because Netanyahu's agenda now is very different than Donald Trump's agenda with respect to this conflict.
And what will happen to Israel at the end of the day, considering the fact that if diplomacy continues, it seems like no one is talking about what happens to Iran's proxies. Do you think that that would make Israel act differently ultimately?
Well, Israel has its own sort of interests in the region. It deeply opposes diplomacy. It has for a very long time. Iran is trying to protect its proxies in the region, particularly Hezbollah, where Iran has invested, for 45 years in trying to maintain influence in Lebanon through its support of Hezbollah. So this is a complicating factor. One of the big points of friction here, right from the beginning of the ceasefire, was a question as to whether this ceasefire was supposed to be simply a ceasefire between the United States and Iran, which was the American position, or was it to be a broader regional ceasefire, including activities and violence in Lebanon. Iran had the position that this was supposed to be a broader regional ceasefire. Israel has not signed on to the ceasefire, and the United States has effectively backed Israel. It's tried to separate what's happening in and around the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf from what's happening in Lebanon. So until there's an agreement in place, there's nothing really to preserve or to fight for in terms of regional stability. And this is the problem of not getting to an agreement. Spoilers on both sides, have an incentive or can engage in activity that can disrupt the entire framework of negotiations. So that's where we are right now.
Thank you so much for that and for that thorough analysis. Professor Hashemi, I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you.